Welcome to the wrestling experience. Sorry.
You're supposed to say welcome to the wrestling experience, and then we say War Games. Or we try to say it like William Regal does.
I jumped the gun. I really wanted to say War Games.
Man, I understand if you jumped the gun. This show was incredible, and just I have so many things. I have so many things on my mind, so many things to say about all of these incredible matches. But I feel like our words will not do justice. After you listen to us, everyone, you should definitely watch NXT TakeOver War Games because it was quite an incredible show.
That's probably true. No words we can say will do justice. But I assume you've already watched it if you're listening to this recap, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there will be spoilers, right?
There will be, but we're going to try our best to recap this. I'm Jess.
I'm Johnny.
And the show opens up with the women's War Games match. And at the beginning, I thought that, this match maybe warranted the main event. But with the way that the men kind of showed up at the end, I thought that, either or could have main evented now, and I would have been okay with it. But I thought this was an incredible match. And you might say that this was a spot fest. And while it is true, it was a spot fest, I did think that it told an incredible story where, and obviously we'll go through like the sequence of who came in first. But when Io Shirai wanted to kind of get into the ring, Raquel, she just did everything to make sure that Io could not get into the ring. And then the way that Io actually does get in the ring is actually pretty clever as well.
Yeah, but I think we got to walk before we can run here. That's a few moments into the match.
Yeah.
I actually think that they started off really well. The first 5 minutes was basically Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon. And boy, did they do a great job. And they made the most of that 5 minutes. Aside from like a brief rest hold into the cage, they were on fire going back and forth with a lot of cool sequences. Ember Moon had an incredible counter during one of their sequences. And one thing that I found interesting about the match overall is just that we have the heels who are at the advantage here, right? So it's Candice's team that's going in first, which is, actually, what am I saying?
The faces.
It's the faces that are going in first, and usually you expect the heels. So it's kind of like, how are they going to do this? Because usually it's always the heels going in first because the 2-on-1 numbers game, the 3-on-2 and the subsequent 4-on-3 is always better in that way. But I like what they did with this match. So the first person to come in is
Shotzi, and
right away, representing her team.
Yeah, exactly. And she comes in and she grabs a toolbox and a crowbar. She nails Dakota Kai with a running senton as Ember is still recuperating. And you're right. So it's like, how was this whole dynamic going to be? Because usually it's the heels. And actually, Dakota Kai is actually holding her own. Like, she slams both headfirst into the cage. Shotzi hits a missile dropkick on Dakota while Ember has her on her shoulders. And then Gonzalez is next. And she just towers herself over Shotzi and Ember. Like, she's huge. And she hits a brutal powerbomb on Shotzi onto the cage wall. I think that Shotzi was like, you know what, just, F my shit up. Basically what she told her.
Dakota Kai gets used as a wrecking ball too. And they're in firm control of the two. The tag team of Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are in full control. And then we get Rhea coming down, and we have that big showdown that everybody wants. But it gets teased, right? Because there's some shenanigans. The toolbox is finally used again. There's a hammer. Dakota gets hit with a hammer. Rhea picks one up, which was kind of weird. It was like a little mallet, it was interesting. So that's new stuff. And it's the usual, now whoever's got the advantage is taking over until they even the odds, and it's Toni Storm who evens the odds. Yeah. And she has kendo sticks, right? She's doing everything. Kendo sticks. She's exposing turnbuckles. What's up with that?
Yeah,
she's on fire.
And Toni is actually really creative. So this is the part where Toni comes in and she kind of cleans house, and then it's Io's turn, and this is where Io just cannot, for the life of her, get into the ring. And Toni Storm actually gets creative. She uses her belt and to keep the door shut. Io tries to climb the cage, and then she gets knocked out again. And then out of nowhere, Indy Hartwell comes out and she knocks out Io. And
she had a neck brace with a broken freaking neck. She did it.
You said it. There you go. And then she locks the cage and she takes the key and she puts it I guess under her shirt or something like that. And now it's just it's basically all heels at this point, and they're basically brutalizing the faces with the kendo sticks.
Candice has entered at this point because it's when Candice enters the ring that this interference happens, and they actually can't win the match. They want to pin. I think they want to pin someone. I forget who, and they can't because the match hasn't officially started. Yeah. But boy, does the match officially start in the most exciting way possible, right? And I know you want to talk about it because it was the first thing you mentioned about the match.
Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, the camera pans out and you see Io Shirai that's like standing on top of the cage. And she has like just the goofiest grin on her face because she's about to take like a trash can. She puts it over her head, and then she just kind of launches herself from the top onto the women. I thought that was a very, very clever spot.
My God, jumping without knowing where you're going because you have a trash can over your entire body. It takes some guts. God,
it's really scary. And then we basically see some amazing tag team stuff from Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. The faces, they kind of pile up the heels into their corner, and then they just kind of launch themselves onto the heels turn by turn. We see this beautiful looking eclipse from Ember Moon onto Dakota Kai onto two chairs. I thought that was an incredible spot. Just basically from Io coming into the match, there was a spot fest, but it was incredible. Like I loved every second of it. We see a Storm Zero on Ember onto the trash can. I thought that looked really, really crazy as well. And then Shotzi kind of climbs a ladder and then she hits the senton on Candice LeRae. But surprisingly, and this is pretty huge for Raquel Gonzalez, but there's basically like a ladder spot with Raquel hitting a powerbomb from the top rope, and then she splits the ladders too as she does that. And Raquel
the ladder is like suspended between the middle of the two rings. Yeah, on the bottom ropes, and that's actually Io gets stomped while she's in the trash can, and it like crushed her, like really bad. No, pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was. I thought I lost you for a second because you just kind of froze.
But I thought I lost you.
But it's.
Did I say anything? Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I heard what you said.
That's all that matters.
So this is huge, though. So like the fact that she actually gets the pin. I'm expecting some big things from her, and even her, like even she looked really surprised.
You think she looked surprised? Like you said something like, this might have been an abrupt finish and not what the original one was.
No. I never said that the finish was changed or something. I just thought that like there was so much action and then bam, that happened and then it just stopped. And I was like, oh, that was kind of abrupt, but I liked it. It was fine.
And it made Raquel look really good. Dakota Kai was like the MVP of this match. I feel like she was always in the right place at the right time, and all of her spots were amazing. I mean, not to take away anything from anybody else. Everyone did a great job. This was a solid opener. Yeah. There's very, very few mistakes here and very well told.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to a video package of Finn Balor, and he basically talks about, when the cage raises. Yeah, so when the cage raises, we get back to whatever matters the most. So this Wednesday, all eyes go back on the Prince, and I'm definitely looking forward to Wednesday night.
Who's his challenger? Who's his next challenger? That's like very, like, could be anyone.
Could be anyone, and that's why you need to tune in on Wednesday. But now this was a really great match. First, I thought that this is going to be really hard to follow up after the opener that we had, but Ciampa and Thatcher honestly really proved me wrong. It started off really slow, and there was kind of a little bit of a scare at the beginning because Ciampa was kind of holding onto his neck, and the ref was like kind of checking in on him, and I was like, oh man, did he really aggravate something?
I hope not, but that was pretty scary. But it was that slow, methodical offense from Thatcher that, like, the way he picks apart his opponents, it really looked like it was a legitimate neck injury because that's what he worked on. And there was plenty of clever spots to attack the neck, throat chops. He sends him throat first into the ropes later in the match, which was really nice. Ciampa gets some offense early on, but it's really not enough. But things take it into third gear, and that's when the match gets really good. There's a knee strike from Ciampa, and you don't realize it right away, but it ends up busting open Thatcher's ear because he gets locked into a huge headlock, and you can see his ear bleeding on the side, and that was quite, like, that was when the match, like, went to its peak. And then the whole sequence to reach the end was from there was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so, you kind of put the nail in the, in the coffin. I thought that the moment that Thatcher started bleeding, his look also changed and he became sadistic. Like, he hits a beautiful looking German suplex on Ciampa, and after a couple of brutal strikes, Ciampa is the one that actually hits the Willow's Bell for the win. I thought that Thatcher could have won this, and it definitely would have helped him, but
He didn't look bad in defeat, though. That's the thing.
Exactly.
He did. The one thing he did that was like kind of questionable was like obviously he did heel tactics where he had to break Tommaso Ciampa had to break the ropes, and he like snuck in a German suplex at one point, even after the ref told him to break the hold. But it took a lot to beat him, right? It took a guillotine on the ropes, and then as soon as the ref counted to 4, right before he can hit 5 and disqualify Ciampa, that's when he hits the Widow's Peak. So it took a lot to beat Thatcher, and it was great that when he realized that he was bleeding, he got super fired up, and they had a very like intimate stare in the corner post match where they looked kind of upset with each other, but also kind of like we beat each other up, and this was crazy because this felt like a fight. It was great.
Yeah, it was like mutual respect. But hey, we're gonna move on to Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis in a strap match. To be honest with you, I thought that, well, to me personally, I don't find strap matches to be really compelling, and again, but this match proved me wrong. I thought that they did a great job with what they had, and there were some really clever moves using the strap.
That's the thing. The strap match was like, yeah, it's not the most exciting thing, but they made the strap. They made the most. They got the most out of that strap, I would say.
I think one of my favorite spots was just a nasty German suplex that Cameron Grimes hit on Dexter Lumis, and he kind of hits his neck onto the turnbuckle. I thought that looked pretty brutal.
Absolutely.
And then Lumis does kind of fight back, hits a spine buster. We see a couple of strikes. The action was kind of slowed down. But again, like I was mentioning, there was so much clever stuff going on with the straps, whether it was just pulling someone from the top rope, just throwing them around, just ragdolling the other person. But
Irish whips, kicks. There was all kinds of stuff with that. There was the strap got tangled up, and then Grimes was able to pull Lumis into the ring post. Like there's an extra post where the War Games the cage surrounds, so that's even more reinforced. So that knocked him out. That was also a clever spot.
Yeah, but Dexter Lumis is the one that kind of comes out on top, where he basically chokes Grimes out. Grimes does try to escape. He just try to remove the strap, but unfortunately it's a little too late. And
just before that though was one clever thing where they were doing a sequence of who's going to get each other, who's going to hit the one first, and during this sequence Lumis is actually able to trip Grimes after the strap kind of gets caught in his leg, and he falls, and he hits like a chair that was kind of just set up by him later, like head first. It was like one of those $1 Million Baby moments almost. And it was a very nice spot, and that's what led to the submission. So I thought that was worth pointing out because it was really cool and kind of clever the way he tripped and hit his head. It looked so convincing.
Yeah, sure. So we're gonna move on to a very. I thought it was pretty funny. Like we have a backstage segment of Team McAfee who's getting all prepped up. Everyone's hyped, and Peter Dune is just kind of locked and loaded.
Pete Dune is in a different world.
Like
he's got his own thing to worry about.
He's basically ignoring McAfee, and then on the other side, Undisputed Era is shown as well. And then the commentators are kind of talking about the show and about what we've seen so far, and then the lights just start flickering, and then at first I thought I saw a crow, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Sting! He's pulling double duty. He's gonna be, working."
The young up and comer is making his name known.
No, but instead, it's actually vultures on the screen, and then we hear TikTok, so we know that's actually Karrion Kross. So yeah, if you're a fan of Karrion Kross,
is he ready to come back? We know for sure it's him.
It seems. I mean, he says TikTok. I mean, who else says TikTok, dude?
I don't know. Kesha, there's a popular app.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm just going to move on. So
Come on. Okay. I mean, anyway, isn't it what a coincidence though? The Crow appears on AEW and the Vultures appear on NXT. But yeah, let's move on. The triple threat match. It's really good too.
Oh my God. So I actually liked the way that they did this match, because you always have a thing where but it's a triple threat match. You're always going to have someone that's going to be sleeping in the background. You're going to have two wrestlers that are fighting. Obviously, it was kind of done in this match as well. But I thought that the whole concept and the whole story of Damian Priest not wanting to hurt Leon Ruff, or being like, listen, get out of my way. I don't want you here. Let me just take care of Johnny Gargano and win this title. And we also saw a short alliance between Ruff and Gargano where they take out Priest, but I have to say just two things. Number one, Priest looked like an absolute monster in this. He was killing it. And not just him being a bigger guy. We got to see some incredible athleticism from Damian Priest from like all his top rope moves and whatever, like just really beautiful stuff. But that razor's edge on Leon Ruff, hitting him into the plexiglass and Ruff being taken away, I thought that was a turning moment for Damian Priest, man. Like I don't understand still what his character is, but as a wrestler, Damian Priest is so freaking impressive, and he reminds me actually a lot of Razor Ramon.
Well, what is it? The Razor's Edge that gives it away?
No, but there's something. There's like just the physique and the way that he wrestles and everything. It definitely reminds me a lot of Razor Ramon.
Yeah, he felt bad about what he did to Leon Ruff. It took him out of the match, and it was a one-on-one match for quite a bit, and they did a great job too, Gargano and Priest, because that's the main focus of the feud, right? Ruff kind of came in just to be like a plot device, if anything. And yeah, this match made everyone look good, but Priest looked amazing. He looked like he was going to win several times, and unfortunately, the ghost-faced come back. There's like 6 of them, and I thought like, oh my god, that's where the Retribution scrubs came. Johnny Gargano hired them, and he put on Ghostface mask.
Oh my god!
But Priest takes them out in the best way. He like does a super awesome dive on one side of the ring to take out 3, runs back in and takes out the other 3 on the other side. Gargano tries to capitalize, and he can't. Mm-hmm. One of the Ghostface does take him out later on. Ruff gets a chance to win the match as well while Gargano's distracted, but he doesn't quite do it. And when Priest gets a second chance to actually seal the deal, once he takes them both out, we have another Ghostface with a lead pipe taking him out completely. And then Gargano's able to win because he's able to take out Ruff with a very nice looking DDT.
Yeah, so
who is the Ghostface?
But I mean, you asked me at first, is Ruff retaining, and I texted you saying like, I really hope so. I'm okay with Johnny Gargano winning this. I don't know if my math is correct, but I think he's the winningest champion now in NXT. He's won 5 titles.
We should ask Natalia. She knows a lot about the winningest and whatnot. But he's like a 3-time North American and like a one-time tag and one-time NXT. Yeah. But yeah, and can you believe that Johnny Gargano won and Candice won? Like
that never happens.
The power couple did it. But the story's not over.
Can I just say just one thing about Candice LeRae? She's 2-0 in War Games. She hasn't lost.
That is a good stat. She's unbeatable.
That's it.
We do find out one of the ghost faces is it's me, Austin. No, it's actually Austin. It's Austin Theory, and he's yelling, "It's Austin!" And as an ode to the Vince McMahon higher power revelation back in the '90s in the Attitude Era. That was amazing.
But it was brilliant because he actually said it was me all along.
Yeah. Totally an ode to that.
It was so good. And it's funny because you look at it and he was probably like a baby at that point, and he probably just didn't grow up watching this, because let's not forget that we are actually older than Austin Theory, not to make us feel old.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. Who knows? He might not have seen that live on Monday night. He might have had to go to bed early because he had like kindergarten the next day. Who knows?
Yeah, but no, I thought that this was a really, really good match, and I honestly I think that it definitely isn't over between these 3. Hopefully Leon Ruff isn't kind of pushed away to the side, and he continues in this feud.
I think that's kind of what's going to happen for the most part. But this was just a nice way for him to get elevated and to do other things for sure. But yeah, it just kind of felt like he was just a plot device in this feud between Priest and Gargano.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to our main event. It's the men's War Game match. We have Team McAfee versus the Undisputed Era. We have Kyle O'Reilly, who starts against Peter Dune, and just basically how we saw in the women's match where, Ember Moon and Dakota Kai were killing it. This was the exact same thing. These 2 men, it was just amazing to see 2 guys trying to, one, out-grapple each other, countering each other's moves, reversing every counter that they had. I thought like this is a beautiful way to start, just an incredible 5 minutes. Only Lorcan comes in, he hits a beautiful suplex, and then he hits Kyle O'Reilly with chops as Peter Dune was holding on to him. Bobby Fish is next. He lays out everyone. I believe he nails everyone with a spine buster, and then this is where
Fish is so cool.
And then Danny Burch comes in. He brings out like some orange bag, and then as he pulls out like the content of the bag, it's actually cricket bats. And
Yeah.
if you guys don't know, cricket is a sport, and and he basically shares a cricket bat with Pete Dunne, and they just start they start nailing Kyle O'Reilly, and basically everyone that was in the ring with those cricket bats. It was and those things hurt, man. They're heavy and they really hurt.
For sure. According to commentary, they're heavier than baseball bats. Now, poor Danny Burch, though, he had like the least impressive showing when you enter the ring and you enter War Games. Like, it didn't go well for him. He got heel hooked by Kyle O'Reilly pretty quickly, and he actually tapped like just right away, immediately. Like, it doesn't matter because the match isn't actually starting right now. But it's just, I'm like, okay, it seemed like poor guy. He got messed up. Obviously, they take over, and it's the Undisputed Era is in peril until Roderick Strong comes to save the day. And the tag team champs rush him, too, and they kind of try to get him taken out before he can do anything, which is a smart strategy, and it almost works, but Strong is obviously able to fight back. He does a really cool spot with everyone, basically, in between the two rings, where he kind of like does his running elbows and knee strike, hitting all three of Team McAfee. And obviously, this momentum for the Undisputed Era shifts to the Team McAfee for McAfee to come in when it's his turn. And he has tables, 4 tables with names of all the members of Undisputed Era.
So poetic.
So I wonder, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be 4 tables that get broken, but I wonder if the person they're intended for will be the one that goes through them. And it starts off good, right? Because Pat McAfee doesn't want to get his hands dirty, of course, so he's kind of in the match, but not really. But he does have his buddies set up a nice table and Roderick Strong, so he can moonsault Roderick Strong through the Roderick Strong table.
A picture-perfect moonsault.
It was nice, yeah. It was nice.
Just impressive stuff from Pat McAfee. He is a great talker, but I did not realize that he was going to be this good at wrestling in his second match.
I know, and he's so good at making you hate him. He's incredible stuff. Like, great stuff. I absolutely hate the guy. I love it. Well done.
And then Adam Cole comes in, and he tries to even the odds. He has a fire extinguisher, and he basically kind of sprays everyone. He takes the steel chair, and then he hits the backstabber on Pete Dunne. And then basically, Adam Cole is in one ring, and then you have Pat McAfee who's in the other ring. He's taunting him, and as Adam Cole is about to launch himself towards him, Pete Dunne kind of comes in the way, and he stomps him in the head. And again, just this is where obviously the action picks up. Every man now are in the ring, so I guess the rules are now fully set. And if you get pinned, you lose. There is so many good things to talk about. I remember at one point, Adam Cole, he sets up a table, and Burge is like already on the table, and Adam Cole throws Pete Dunne onto the table, and the table was supposed to break, but it didn't.
Didn't quite, yeah. And this was the, I believe, the Kyle O'Reilly table.
Actually, no. This is really funny because I was gonna make a joke. Because that table was actually for Adam Cole. It said Adam Cole on it.
That was the Cole table?
Yeah,
okay, so then...
And I was going to say that the table probably didn't break because it was reinforced for Adam Cole since he's such a fat ass.
That is true. Okay, we can confirm that it's that one because the Bobby Fish one is just chilling in the middle of the two rings.
Yeah.
Strong's table's gone at this point. So yeah, it's I guess it's the Cole one, and the O'Reilly one is I'm going to check my notes. I got to make sure I get them right.
Yes, but essentially what happens is that Strong kind of launches himself from the top rope, and that's when the table breaks. But again, like, just obviously we're gonna get to that moment, but when everyone is brawling in the ring, and then all of a sudden Pat McAfee, out of nowhere, is at the top of the cage, and he basically swantons himself. Like, this guy attended like the Jeff Hardy school of jumping off of everything. Like, this is ridiculous, but he swantons himself, and it looks like nobody catches him, because you can actually hear him like hit the mat like pretty hard.
Yeah,
it was.
You could definitely see.
It was. It was definitely really brutal. And obviously, like, this at this point, we're kind of reaching the end. You know, everyone's taking some crazy bumps. You know, it's basically Undisputed Era that's like have him circled, and you know they kind of go on the offensive. They throw him around. Pat McAfee's taking all the bumps, and
He does take quite a few. He went through a table too. He's the one that goes through the what was it, the O'Reilly table right after the Cole table gets broken.
Yeah. Now,
so before the big splash.
And now we have the final showdown. We have Adam Cole and we have Pat McAfee. Adam Cole kind of takes a steel chair. He's about to hit him with a steel chair. Pat McAfee actually low blows him. And as he's about to punt Cole, but Cole reverses with a kick to the head. While this is happening, Fish launches himself to Birch and he breaks the last table. And McAfee is about to hit the Panama Sunrise, so he's kind of, showboating. And Cole reverses with a super kick, and then he hits him with the Panama Sunrise, but only gets a 2 count. And I'm like, oh my god, Pat McAfee kicked out of a Panama Sunrise. I thought the match should have ended there.
That might have been a little too far. I agree. I mean, the match ended maybe a minute later.
Yeah.
But that probably should have been the end. There was also a nice sequence where the Undisputed Era got to take out everybody except Pat McAfee while they were chilling on the cage between the ropes, which was a pretty cool sequence. But what ends up happening is that Adam Cole wants to hit the last shot on Pat McAfee after he kicked out of the Panama Sunrise, but Oney Lorcan, the guy who you know is going to take the pin, sacrifices himself to take the Panama Sunrise. Peter Dunne gets involved too. Why did I call him Peter Dunne? Because of Peter Dunne. It's you can't call him by his real name anymore. It's impossible.
It's a finisher spot fest at this point now.
And then it's a finisher spot fest, yeah. And Oney Lorcan takes the brunt of it because he takes a sweet double team move by Fish and Roderick Strong. And Kyle O'Reilly is finally alive again, and he dives at him with a chair and picks up the win. And Oney Lorcan took quite a beating. You saw a busted lip, and I think he had a black eye.
Mm-hmm.
But the Undisputed Era does win the War Games.
I mean, I really hope that all these men have Wednesday off because they definitely deserve it. What a way to just end the pay-per-view. And then you have Undisputed Era that's celebrating their posing. And, they say that, NXT is theirs. The show belongs to them and everything like that. So they're probably not going to go up to the main roster. Who knows? I thought that this could have been a perfect send-off. But, especially since they were wearing red, I'm like, raw colors. But yeah, I thought that overall this was an excellent NXT TakeOver. Even the matches where I was like, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis, Thatcher and Ciampa, they proved me wrong. They were just A+. Honestly, all the matches were really great. And for me, I have to give this a 9.5 if I was to grade it. Yeah.
Wow, you break out the 0.5. Yeah, I mean, The thing is, I have to my least favorite match was the Cameron Grimes Dexter Lumis strap match, but the way I say it is it was the least enjoyable match would make sense because everything was enjoyable. So yeah, pretty much a 9 out of 10 episode of TakeOver, and what a great week for wrestling. I mean, SmackDown was pretty solid.
Yeah.
NXT TakeOver was very solid. Raw as well. In the non-WWE world, it was pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Honestly, we're just happy that everyone's having success. You know what I mean? So, I just think that it's great for us wrestling fans.
Go team!
Go team! So that was it, guys. That was our recap.
Entertainment.
For NXT TakeOver. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Oh boy, now comes the time where everyone expects something clever, eh? You set that expectation, and now I don't know if I can handle the pressure.
So that's it?
It's too much.
That's your way of signing off and disappointing our great fans, our listeners, our viewers?
Hey, how could anyone be disappointed after a takeover like that? The War Games are in full effect, right?
Yeah.